Good evening, welcome to the council meeting, April 16, 2024. Anyone in the audience would like amplifying headphones, please raise your hand, we'll bring this to you. Not seeing any, let's rise for a pledge, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Donna, can you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilmember Blush.
Here.
Councilmember Sherman. Here. Councilmember Gutierrez.
Here.
Marinesco.
Here.
Councilmember Stearns.
Here.
And Councilmember Gilmore.
Here. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Does the council have any board reports to share?
This morning, I went to the contractors conference with the Mason County Building Department and learned about a lot of the changes coming down to the state. Very informative, so I think it's gonna be some changes, and if it comes from the state, if the county goes to us, they'll feel it, so. The EDC has some information about that, in case anybody has any questions.
Was it international building code stuff or state stuff?
State stuff.
Was it? Yeah. Anyone else? All right. Has everyone reviewed the items in the consent agenda?
Yes.
We have a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
All right, there's a motion second to approve the consent agenda as published. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our first item is presentation. Finance Director Mike Gillens.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Tonight is the financial presentation for the month of February. So I'm going to bring it up on screen so that people in Zoom and the audience can see it. No, it was in the council packet. So February, it's still pretty early in the year for us to make some estimates, but we want to give council and the public a chance to see where each of the citywide funds is, in particular, as we're keeping our eyes on the general fund. So I'm going to start on page 2, where we give an overview of the general fund revenues. As you take a look at this, we're making some pretty conservative estimates for where we think we'll be at year end. I'll share with you that when we look at, for instance, property tax, we're estimating right now that we'll fully realize that line item. We typically do within 1% or so. Sales tax, you'll notice we're estimating it to be down a bit, but I can tell you so far what we're seeing, and we can see 3 months now, even though this financial report is for 2 months, there's nothing that's really indicating anything down, but we're conservative in finance, so we tend to say, okay, if this is off a bit as we come into some slower months, we want to be sure that we're estimating that right, but there's nothing that shows us in these first 3 months of the year that anything's off. In fact, February was up about $20,000 and the March receipts were in right about where they were the prior year. So things are looking pretty good there. The both city and non-city utility taxes, we're estimating just slightly under. The B&O tax, again, we're estimating a bit under. We'll just have better figures as each month comes in and we can kind of see where everything's going. Fines and penalties has been under the last couple of years, and we're again estimating that it will be down about 38%. But again, we'll see where that is. And that likely is a line we'll probably need to just adjust down as we prepare the 25 budget. But that's where our revenues are. Overall, our estimates are just calling for less than 1% under budget. So it's nothing that I would say is concerning, and as the fiscal year goes on, we'll likely see some changes in this. And I would say, given everything we see today, it wouldn't be any worse off on the revenue side of things for the general fund. So that's where we're at on the revenue side for general fund. On the expenditure side, Oh, and at the bottom of the page, we break that out into percentages in kind of a graphic illustration of where each of the pieces of the general fund revenue come in, and you can see that, you know, sales tax and property tax, and some of our charges make up the biggest percent of that. On the page 3, on the expenditures by department, again, it's very early in the year when we're making these estimates, but we know certain things. We know what's budgeted and we know where we have some staff vacancies, and largely that's where we're estimating some of these savings. On the other hand, you'll see there are some lines that we're already estimating to be slightly over budget, or we call it unfavorable to budget. One of, you know, some of those are animal control. We know that those expenses are trending higher this year. Under some of the lines for facility services, we're trending a bit higher. In some cases, this was largely where we have tighter budgets, and for example, the legal line, risk, those were largely due to our liability insurance payment that came in. Well, it's more than doubled, as we've shared, in a couple of years. And so those budget categories don't have a lot of expenditures in them. So when something's over to the degree that it was on that particular expense, that's why those are estimated to be unfavorable. In a lot of the lines where we're estimating a favorable or that will be under budget, it's due to some staff vacancies. You know, that's particularly true, I think, as you look at some of those bottom categories, police, public works. Certainly, you can compare this to the FTE chart we'll look at on page 7 in just a minute. So that's where the expenses are. Again, it's still early in the year. This is 2 months into the fiscal year, so there's not a whole lot that is of concern right now. But I wanted to just spend a minute on the general fund. On page, where am I at now? Page 4. Page 4, I'm on page 4, yes. Okay, page 4 has the comparison of the general fund year to year of revenues and expenditures as compared to 22 and 23. I look at this a lot. I think it shows not only where our revenues are increasing, but also where some of our expenditure lines are increasing. Sometimes that's due to some changes we've made internally by reconfiguring some departments. But overall, I think that this page and the next one, where we do a month-to-month comparison of February 22, 23 is compared with February of 2024, and then a variance between last year. And so this is oftentimes where I'm looking at, in particular, some of our bigger revenue categories, the sales tax, and that's, as I mentioned, it's not at all down so far this year. In fact, it's 4% above where it was last year in the month of February. And as a reminder, February sales tax receipts are representing what happened in businesses for December. There's that 2-month lag before we receive the revenue on it. So December is a big month with the holiday shopping. So that's why that month tends to be a lot bigger. It levels off then for the next few. But overall, then those comparisons, and on the expense side, also a little bit lower on the page, you can see kind of where some of the variance is between, in particular, February of 2024 and February of 2023 or last year. And then on the next page, oops, if I get on the mouse, that would help, is the sales tax comparison. So this is our, how we receive the categories from the Department of Revenue. As they remit that to us, they tell us the breakdown. And so we present to you and the public how our sales tax is coming in. Retail continues to be the largest category for us, both in the month of February and then throughout the year. But I think this is kind of important to note, we'll tend to see construction maybe kick up a bit as that season happens, and we have some rather large projects going on in the city itself. As some of those things happen, we can kind of track it that way. And then on the next page are fund balances, citywide, so starting with the general fund, but where we're estimating everything to end. I usually point this out to you that we want that estimated fund balance to obviously be in the positive. There's some drawdown of some of the funds, in particular, some of the funds where we're having some capital projects happening that you're seeing around the city right now. So that's some of the drawdown on those. And then on the bottom of that page is what I mentioned about the FTEs, where we're tracking those. So this is as of end of February where we had vacancies. So that's where some of that matches up to some of the savings in departments you're seeing. Citywide, 10.5 vacancies. That's changed a bit when you look a month and a half later. So right now we filled some of those positions. We'll keep that updated, but I think anecdotally, this is a good measure of where we're under in some categories. Under in spending is largely related to this. And as we pointed out before, you know, some of these vacancies are tough to fill. But there are several filled. If we looked at it today, there's some of the ones in the other city funds across the public works departments. They filled some positions. A parks position was also filled. So that's good progress. Again, this is as of February. And then towards the end of the report, pages 9 through 12, we take you through an overview of all citywide funds detailing the 2024 budget, revenues, money in, expenditures out, and kind of a summary version of each fund and where we're estimating it to be. Everything's looking on target. I think there's a lot of work happening, as you can see in your consent agenda, as you're approving the accounts payable, the bills we're paying. Things are happening in a busy manner around the city, so we're keeping an eye on it. Those are all the formal comments I have. Happy to answer any questions. Sure, that's some interest we're earning primarily on that fund. So right now our investments, because of the way interest rates are, short-term investments are paying really well. And so our funds are earning quite a bit of money. So that's what that is. The local government investment pool is doing really well right now.
Back to the income balance, we're not sitting on close to $5 million. We have a reserve policy of
Correct.
20% in case there is a downfall in the economy, so we can pay the bill to keep the lights on.
And it
It's
keeps
not extra money. There are some there that we'll talk
There
about in the
is.
future about
Right.
one-time money, but
it also enables us to pay bills without doing any short-term borrowing. So that cash is liquid so that we can, you know, pay a contractor that we have working on, you know, Safe Routes to School or Well One until we get some of the reimbursement on the grant. So it's all of those things that you're mentioning.
and unrelated, our 3 vacancies in the police department, are they in academies or anything, or are we just still just?
Those are still 3 vacancies we have. We're working on filling one of those right now. We'll see.
Any other comments, questions tonight? Right. Right, we have another item from Mike, a resolution to purchase a vehicle, police vehicle.
Yes, I'm gonna present the finance side, and if you have technical questions, Chief Hostad is here to answer those. So we, Sergeant Moran went out, we have, this is part of the adopted 2024 budget, our budget plan to make sure that we're replacing assets and have a plan for that. As you can tell in the briefing, we'll be retiring one of our older police vehicles and surplusing that. But this comes in under budget. The amount you have there is for a fully equipped patrol vehicle. So we're asking, you to formally approve this and authorize the city manager to sign the purchase order.
Mike, Donna, anyone have a public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to place resolution number 1317-0224 on the city council May 7th action agenda for further consideration.
Okay,
All right, comments or questions?
so I see that you're ending at this one, you're gonna sell it basically, right? You're surplusing it, correct?
The old one,
The old-
yes.
right.
Mhm.
I saw a thing, on the Thurston County page a couple weeks ago, like 3 police vehicles were damaged in one incident. Will we have backup vehicles if that happens with us?
Yes, we have about 3 backup vehicles right now, so we do have a little bit of waiting.
Okay.
Yes.
I think this is one of our oldest high
This is
mileage.
one of our oldest, is a 2013 Dodge Charger with at least 7,000 miles on it or so. The Dodge Charger was short-lived in its career with law enforcement. It was when the ground digs went out, they went searching for the goods vehicle, what are we gonna get? And Dodge came out with the Dodge Charger, so everyone was quite impressed with that vehicle. Unfortunately, it just didn't perform to the standards that and the capabilities that we needed. There's a smaller platform and has very little trunk space and it was very difficult to get prisoners inside and out in the back. It was just a smaller space. So luckily we didn't invest too much into the Dodge Chargers. We're now onto the Explorers, which are a way better patrol vehicle. They sit higher to have more room. So that's what we're replacing all our vehicles with right now.
Right, any more comments or questions? We have a motion to second to place resolution number 1317-0224 on the council May 7th agenda for further consideration. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations, you have a new car. All right, now it's action agenda. Public Works Director Jay Harris of resolution 4. Replacement at will.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Jay Harris, your Public Works Director. So pump 4, or well number 4 pump, last winter, failed us. It went out. It was about 18 years old, 20 years old, right in there. And anyways, we brought out American Pump and Drilling. They quoted us $70,000 to replace it. Actual costs came in at about $67,000. So, because they didn't need some few parts that they included in their quote. It's important that all 3 wells produce water, especially during summertime demand. Our water modeling is set up to where we have 1 redundant pump in the system. And so the pump failure during the winter is actually a good time because we don't have obviously summertime demands in the winter. We don't have to produce as much water. So it chose a good time to fail. And American Pump and Drilling was on it. They did a really good job for us. We were really impressed with them. And there's been no changes since the last briefing. And we ask the council approve the closeout of this project this evening.
Thank you, Jay. Does anyone have a public comment, Donna? All right, ever reading the resolution number 1326-0324.
Resolution number 1326-0324. A resolution of the council of the city of Shelton, Washington, accepting the well 4 pump replacement project as final and complete.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 1326-0324 as presented.
Right, comments or questions? Right, we have a motion second to adopt resolution number 1326-0324 presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. All right, Jay, do you have a manager report for us tonight?
Yes, I'm serving in 2 capacities this evening. The city manager's report. What I'd like to talk about is emergency management for a moment. So staff in our 6-year work plan, Public Works has emergency management in there. And that's taking prior documents from other members here that no longer work here and upping those documents, recreating and moving along. So one of the things we're working on is a comprehensive emergency management plan, which you're required by RCW to have. It was last completed in 2003. So we're looking to update that. We're working on that. And so we should be bringing this back to council, probably I'm thinking this summer. And then we're also working on our continuity of operations plan. They call it the COOP plan. That's part of the comprehensive emergency management plan. We're doing updates to that also. We'll probably be bringing both of them back to you at the same time. FEMA, incident command system training. A lot of staff members have gone through the basic training, which is ICS 100, 200, 700, 800. And then some more employees have got through ICS 300 and 400. That's the emergency management center, you know, where you're running operations and planning group and the communications and finances, a group of people there. In a true emergency, you have an EOC. This building is the EOC per the 2003 plan. We're going to be looking in next year's budget to look at the seismicity of this building, how will it perform. I'm assuming when they did the upgrades, when this building was remodeled, that it was done to a higher standard from the former grocery store that this was originally built as. So anyways, we want to see, because this needs to be emergency immediately occupiable because of the 911 center and our EOC, because that's really important. We're also working on emergency communications. If we can't communicate, it's a problem, right? My former job, the cell towers went down and the power went out in the city. And without the cell phones and without emails and internet, we're back to this because of a windstorm and meeting in groups. I'll meet you back here in an hour. You go look at this, that sort of thing. So communications is huge. We're lucky here at the city that we have a 1990s radio system, and they're in our trucks and in our public works larger vehicles, backhoes, that sort of thing. And we have different stations around the city. That analog system is aging. And so we're going to be looking at a plan to probably replace that and to have that backup system if the cell towers and such go out. We're looking at our generators for each facility also. We have a generator study ongoing with Century West Engineering. How old are they? Do they have the proper amperage? We're testing them all the time and changing the fuel and maintaining them. But some of those are going to need to be replaced over time because they are getting a little bit older, especially at a couple of the well sites. The last thing we're working on is our cell phone coverage. We currently have Verizon, good company. We're looking at what happens, what type of emergency management do they have with their system compared to T-Mobile, and it's called AT&T FirstNet. Central Mason's on AT&T FirstNet. It's a completely separate system from the commercial system. It's government system. The federal government's paying AT&T to build a mirrored type of system. It's a pretty interesting conversation that I'll bring you folks in the new future. Any questions about emergency management?
I was kind of curious, might be a question for you. So with everything going digital now, what happens there? I mean, did police have a backup like we do in the city, or they know that much about?
It's too technical for me, I'm sorry.
Digital would be ran through networks, internet, stuff like that, I would assume.
That's correct. We're looking at backup internet service. Starlink is online. People are starting to use that as a backup system. And so we're talking about perhaps what's our backup internet to this building. We could lose the fiber connection. I've had that happen before, and it was down for 2 days. And it was lucky that the fiber went down, but we had Comcast also. So within a few hours, we'd switched everything over so the servers are running and everyone has internet access and all that. But that's something we're looking at also. to see how robust is the fiber. In the incident I went through, that a truck, dump truck had clipped the wire when his bucket was up. A lot of the poles have fiber on them, and you clip it in one spot. Well, it's difficult to find where the break is. Technology is better now that they can map it out better in their system and find where the problem is. So the second part of the manager's report is the automated meter infrastructure project is moving along. That all parts have been delivered. That's the meters, the boxes, and the transmitters. Currently, we're running, I guess you'd call it an analog meter system with the dial, and it's all mechanical. It's all brass, and they're aging. So we have all the parts on hand. We have the specifications about 98% done. We hope to have them done this week, maybe later next week, be out to bid. So once we receive the bids, I'll be speaking to you folks of the results. Probably in about 6 weeks, I'll be back to talk to you about those.
And when will the public be able to actually use an app to watch their usage and all that stuff?
Yeah, so with this current phase of the project, we won't have that capability. We're going to what's called drive-by or walk-by radio read. So we'll be able to get readings at any time near automatic. The fixed base read system is proposed to be put in about this time next year. That's the next phase of the project. We want to get the phase of the walk. Right now, we read every meter manually. You got to lift up the lid, read the dial. If you get the numbers down right, we do a lot of rereads, that sort of thing. With the automated walk-by read or drive-by read, we'll be able to pick up the readings as you go down the road. It'll take about a day. Right now, it's taking 2 to 3 people about 2 weeks to do all the meters. This will shave it down to a day and a half sort of thing. We want that system in place and used to it. Then we're going to go next to the antenna. So if the antenna fails, we can go back to walk-by. If walk-by fails, you can open up every box and look in there. We're going with sealed boxes now, though. They're pretty solid state items. And so hopefully we won't have to go read a whole bunch of them. Usually if you have a failure, it's a battery or transmitter, something you go fix, that local thing. So fixed base about a year from now. At that point, we're going to be installing new software at the city, and that the utility billing staff, when someone wants to close out account, we can get you your final read. It takes a couple minutes to send out the request. It goes around through the system, pings that meter, it sends you back the result. The meters store, well, you can set it at different settings, but typically it's every 2 hours it sends you a signal of the usage at that particular home. And what's very advantageous is at night that is doing these readings and it's comparing it night after night after night. And it will know when your toilet's running or if you have a water line break, and it will notify city staff. And we're going to be knocking on doors or emailing people about potential water loss that they don't realize. So that part of the system will be really nice. The property owner can also look at their bill and figure out when am I using the most water? And it could be your kids. Like I had a daughter that loved to take half-hour showers, right? And it would use a lot of water. You'll be able to figure things out like that over a year from now once you log on to your account.
Any more from you in your report?
No other updates.
Thank you, Jay. At this time, members of the public are invited to make public comment on any city-related topic that's not listed on the agenda. Donna, set up public comments.
Dean Jewett, lifelong Mason County member. Appreciate being here. I want to give you the state of Shelton address. We have 2 camps that have been cleaned up in the last week or so. 2 pretty big major ones by Neyland Park. Thing of it is one of those camps has been there for years and years and years. Did I say years? So where's the due diligence on the city's part? Where's the dereliction of duty? Eric, maybe you can answer that for us. Maybe I'll get an email from you. We had a lady sitting in one of the benches down by the clock tower, just dropped her pants, took a piss. No big deal. That's the new norm. It's okay, right? We're okay with that. We have a bike trailer. Everybody knows what a bike trailer is. Guy carries it around behind his bike, pulls it around. Showed up over at a Peninsula Community Credit Union, just hanging out there. I would like somebody here in the council to make a motion that our code enforcement officer maybe does a little bit of proactiveness. That is against the ordinances that you guys that hold up to on the books. So maybe we send Jim Morrell a message that says, hey, this isn't acceptable. Why don't we stop this? Why don't we get a no trespassing order on file so that we can remove that? He had it chained up to a concrete girder. We're seeing an increase of RVs. We have one that comes in and out of McDonald's area, comes there, stays 2 or 3 days and splits, comes back 2 or 3 days, another one's there. So what are we doing with that? I would like somebody on the council to throw a motion out there for a town hall meeting. Something I've been talking about. Last one we had was kind of a joke that Jeff Knighton called. Yeah, I think right now that we need a town hall meeting every 2 months until we get things under control. You know, it'd be nice to do also. We had a kind of joke of a homeless task force. I think that we should actually have one that's ongoing the whole time, that has some community members, business people, and maybe even some of the kids from the high school. Might not be a bad idea. Second thing I want to hit on is my hot button topic. And I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget them. Enforce the street camping ordinance that's already on the books. That's why it's called an ordinance. Let's read it and let's enforce it. We've yet to enforce it. Let's pass and enforce the no lay lie ordinance. Let's pass and enforce the shopping cart ordinance. These aren't new ordinances to Washington State. They've already been tried. They've already been challenged, and they've already been held up. So let's get it done. Let's see. The city issued an occupancy permit and a conditional use permit to Community Lifeline. Who's holding them accountable? Do you guys know? Thank you.
Thank you. Donna, anyone else signed up?
We have someone on Zoom. We have Colleen Carmichael.
Good evening, Mayor Inesco and fellow council members. My name is Colleen Carmichael, and I'm the Executive Director of Quixote Communities. According to the National Coalition to End Homelessness, there are 7 evidence-based practices for reducing homelessness. They are commonly accepted in making decisions about this population and can only be considered evidence-based if research has been proven significant positive outcomes in 2 or more controlled studies. Assertive community treatment is a team-based model designed to provide all-inclusive, community-based psychiatric treatment, rehabilitation, and support to persons with serious mental illnesses. Research has shown that this can support individuals with the most severe mental illnesses and reduce hospital stays as well as length of imprisonment. Critical time intervention is a time-limited case management focused on supporting people with serious mental illnesses that are being exited from facilities. Research has proven that CTI programs are cost-effective, and clients that receive services were more likely to stay housed. Housing First provides housing to individuals and families that have serious mental illnesses along with substance use disorders. It supports clients' needs and encourages them to create and implement their own goals with no preconditions for housing except complying with standard lease agreements. Research shows it increases housing stability, is cost-effective, and increases utilization of other supportive services. Motivational interviewing supports clients by exploring and resolving their lack of effort towards illegal and harmful lifestyles. Research has proven that these techniques have reduced many problem behaviors, including behaviors related to drug use. Permanent supportive housing provides affordable housing with services by providing wraparound case management and property management. Research has shown PSH clients have an increase in housing stability. Trauma-informed care engages people with trauma histories in a way that recognizes their trauma and acknowledges the role trauma has played in their lives. Harm reduction aims to reduce the negative effects of drug and alcohol use. It is the term that describes activities applied to programs and policies with the aim to lessen the health, social, and economic effects of substance use. It also creates an awareness of the resources that can help minimize the harm from substance use. We hope the City Council will use these evidence-based practices in your strategies to reduce homelessness in Shelton. And this is brought to you by the Homeless Task Force, which I have represented for every time that I come every 2 weeks. So you know it is active and we are working on plans. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we have one more. And that's Tamara.
Thank you, Tamara Ingwaldson, and I'm representing Quixote Communities this evening, and I also live in Lake Limerick. I wanted to invite you to the Earth Day celebration that the Mason Conservation District is spearheading, and that will be this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. up at our Shelton Veterans Village. It'll be a really fun time to get together and plant pollinators and fruit trees. And as the community garden grows, then it'll be an opportunity for not only the residents to be able to learn about microgreens and have access to healthier food and learn how to care for a garden and have that therapeutic benefit as well, but also it'll become a teaching garden for the broader community. So it's another way of building community together in a variety of ways to help everybody thrive together in Shelton and Mason County. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Donna? All right. Council having a new item for discussion. I'd like to bring up, we received it's gonna be public record, so we received a letter from the United States Post Office. I don't know if everybody knows, for the last 50 years, we've had an agreement with the post office to use Post Office Park as a park and all our tree lighting ceremonies and stuff. We've been doing there for many years, since I was a kid, not an old guy now. So a few years ago, we got word the post office was going to tear that tree down and make that a parking lot. So we thought, oh my gosh, we can't do that. And the word got out and people were getting upset. Oh my gosh, don't take our park. And so we started negotiating a deal to swap Post Office Park for Brewer Park. That was going pretty well on and off the last couple of years. We thought we were coming to an end, and we got a letter from the post office saying, sorry, we're not going to do it. We're going to keep our park. We're going to make it a parking lot. We're going to cut your tree down July 1st. So if anybody has strong feelings about it, call your post office. And if you want the number for DC, I'd be glad to give that to you too, the gentleman who sent the letter. That has been a place for us to gather for, I mean, I'm 56 years old and I've been here for 77 since I've been here, 45 years, 46 years, and many other people. And that tree was also donated by some Senator Owen or something. I have to look that up again. I forgot, but it's a shame. There's no reason why they couldn't do that park swap and put their parking lot across the street. It was going to be a nice wrought iron fence. We paid for it. We actually supplied the post office with $30-some thousand that we're hoping to get that back. We paid for survey after survey. We paid for SEPA, I think, reports. We paid for the wrought iron fence we were gonna put around that park, and they basically just said at the almost very end, we thought it was gonna happen. Said, nope, sorry, we're not gonna do it. And that letter, I mean, it's public record. I'd be glad to share it. Anybody would like to see the letter from the post office, but like I said, if you got any strong reservations about that park and you want to talk to somebody, start making phone calls because we've got till July. So.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
That's
sure,
okay.
sure.
Well, that tree is the second tree that's been there. The first tree was there when I was a little girl and it got huge. They cut that down, planted that tree. So that's the second generation tree. So if anything, we do need to get on this and save that second generation tree.
That's all I have to say.
I do want to say the post office offered for us to relocate that tree.
Oh my.
That tree's like 100 feet tall and the root probably go down to French Street. So, I don't think that's gonna happen, but that's my spiel. Anybody else have anything, new items? All right, our next meeting is May 7th at 6 p.m. We also have today's session April 23rd at 6 p.m. This meeting is adjourned at 6:39 p.m.